We were always taught to dream big and to be successful. Remember, poor no more. You guys are going to be successful. And you're never going to go through what I went through. And your kids are never going to go through what I went through. So there was always this thing of you have to be successful.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of the Playhouse. As promised in 2026, we are on the move. We are going. We're giving you back-to-back CTAs. We're bringing value-packed conversations. And the conversation that we're about to have today is, it's impactful. It's none other than a value-based conversation. I like saying on this platform, on our tagline, if you're watching us for the very first time, our tagline is, you truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people. This is a special CTA for me, and the reason I feel like I'm interviewing my friend, it's not even I feel, I'm interviewing my boy, somebody who I've known for very many years in and out of different seasons. So this one feels a bit personal, but then also there's this element that I say that you may know somebody, but you truly don't know them. So the best way to know them is to take the time out to get to know him. As we like to say on CTA, I don't like introducing people by their titles, but I like the story to unveil who they are. So as they tell their story, you're going to hear the different elements of their life. This is, I promise you, a powerful, powerful CTA. And I'm going to let the gentleman who is seated on the CTA seat unveil the story so that you can get to know his amazing journey. But one title that titles that I like throwing out is, he's a husband, he's a father, and he's an amazing human being, and I will let this guest unveil himself. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for none other than, and Aizo in the building with me today, for none other than Sidney Chahonyo. Sydney.
Yes.
Welcome to CTA.
Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you, can I call you Sido?
Yes, you can.
I can call you Sido.
Yes.
You know, I've known you.
That's how you've always,
That's how I've always called
me.
you.
Yes.
So relax. I want you to even forget that there's a camera. I just want us to have a conversation. Pleasure to have you. Let's kick this thing off from the very beginning. I come here, but then if you want to stop, we will stop. If you want to have water, food, you just let us know. We're free flowing, as you can clearly see. Yeah. So I want you to relax and let's just have a good conversation. So I come here with one question and only one question. And that question is, when and where were you born?
I was born in 1984 in Nairobi Hospital. I was born as the youngest child. I have 5 sisters. I'm the last born. I'm the only boy. So I was brought up by women. I'm a product of women. Yeah. And I was born in Nairobi, born and raised.
Currently, you're also the only, you have 2 daughters.
Yes, I have 2 girls.
So again, you're still the only boy.
Yes, I'm still the only man in the house.
Okay, so 1984, where in Nairobi are you at the time?
Where was I in Nairobi?
Where were you born? Where are your parents living?
At that time, I was born in a house, it was on State House Crescent. We were living in an apartment in State House Crescent. From there, the first home I remember is in Kileleshwa, right next to Kenton College. Yeah. We used to sit on the roof and watch the little boys pick up snails and eat them. And like on a Saturday when we were there, we would just sit on the roof and just watch what was going on. Yeah. We used to have bonfires. Also, our house was very typical African house where my parents, were in Nairobi and they were kind of the ones who made it in their families. So there was always an auntie or a cousin or someone coming from up country while they were either going to school or trying to look for a job. Yeah. Or, before they settled down, they would come and pass through our house. So our house was always had a lot of people in and out. We were already, 6 children, but there was always, other people in the house.
So what's your dad doing at the time? What's your mom doing at the time?
My parents were both career bankers. Back in the days, you'd finish high school and get picked up by a bank even without a degree. So they both went into banking straight from high school, and they
High
even
school?
got their certifications and the degrees later on. So my parents were both bankers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the relationship like at this time? You being the only boy, what's it like? And then you've got, what's the difference in age, actually, first and foremost?
My oldest sister is 11 years older than me. Yes.
The firstborn?
Yes, the firstborn.
Okay.
Yes. And then it's, 1 year, 3 years, two.
Okay.
Difference between the siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are more or less tight. I mean, it's not too
Yes.
spread when you
Yes.
think about 6 kids and 11 years.
Yes.
It's not too spread off.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Like, what's your earliest childhood memories growing up? I'm hearing about the snails. Who are you playing with? Give us that.
As I said, the house was always full of people. So, I mean, obviously, we already have my siblings, but then there was always a cousin or an auntie or an uncle, and my folks were very accommodating. And the house was open to everyone. So it's not those houses where you'd go and say, "Can I see Mzee?" And he says, "Oh, I'm not there." Like anyone, the gate was always open to everyone.
Yeah.
So there was always a lot of stuff going on in the house. I remember always having, 6, 7, 8 cousins around, or friends of my dad would come with their folks. So it was just always so many people in the house. But I think as siblings, we were also quite close.
Yeah.
Obviously, the older siblings were more like second parents. But the ones that are closer to me in age, those were now my, the people who I would play with the most, the people who I would connect with the most.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What's relationship like with you and your dad at this time? So when we tell CTA, I want you to always go back to the time that we are and don't transpose to later on. So at that time, what was the relationship like with?
My dad was my hero. I don't think I ever lacked anything. He was just that figure, almost like, one level down from a god, I just looked to him like, wow, this guy is, he's my everything. He worked hard. He worked very hard. So we would barely see him, but he was providing for us. So you'd find like my mom was always the one with us. Even though she had a full-time job, she was the one who made sure we wake up, get ready for school, we are taken to school. When we come back home, have we showered, have we eaten, is our homework done? She would always coordinate that. My dad, we would see him, sometimes we wouldn't even see him in the morning. Sometimes he was out of the house before 6. And he was coming back home after we slept.
Wow.
So any occasion you'd be awake when he's coming home, you'd get so excited. You'd hear the car hooting at the gate and you're like, daddy's home. Yeah. So, it was almost that like, and he traveled a lot as well.
Yeah.
Not at that time, but later on he started to travel a lot. And we'd get so excited when we knew he was coming back home.
Yeah.
And he would always just spoil us. My dad just used to spoil us. He'd bring us sweets, he'd bring us teddy bears, he'd bring us, all sorts of toys. So for me, it was just, he was this figure that even at that age, I don't think I really understood. But I just knew that, this guy loves us, we love him. And we always used to get so excited anytime he was around.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so, both your parents are career bankers at this time. So what per se are they doing in the bank at this time? Are they working for Gava? Are they working for, was it the government bank or what? Just explain, give a bit more context.
My mom worked for KCB all her life.
Oh, okay.
From the time she started working, she was at KCB and she worked there throughout her life. My dad initially was employed by Central Bank. And then he started, at some point, he was actually auditing other banks. So he would go to make sure that they're compliant with all the regulations and the rules. So he would, he kept going to different banks to do audits.
But under Central Bank?
Yes, under Central Bank.
Okay.
Then eventually,
so his employer at this time is Central Bank?
Yes.
Okay.
And even when he started working for other banks and even when he got into different parastatals later in life, he was still a Central Bank employee. So, but being seconded by Central Bank to these other institutions.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's huge. I'm not going to downplay that opportunity and that position that he was in at that time. Okay, so I've gotten this understanding. And by the way, Kile is not the Kile that is there now. Kile had no apartments.
Yes, yes. It was those old government houses, those bungalows.
Yeah.
Yes. So he was given a bungalow in Kile, and I can't even remember how many bedrooms it has, but it used to seem so big. Like I was just running from one end to the other end, I was like, wow. And I remember the layout of the house. I can't even remember how many rooms it had, but it just always seemed so grand.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of government houses in Kile at that time.
Yes.
So strangely, I also lived in Kile, but more like near the roundabout. Anyway, back to you. So I've understood this home piece. CT is like a jigsaw puzzle, and I need to just see the different pieces. So home, I've seen that piece. Now, first experience of going to school. Where do you go to school?
Wow. I remember I went to kindergarten at Mascot Academy. It was on what is now, I think, Riara Road. I remember they had this huge tortoise. Like it was huge, it was massive. And we used to ride it. So, boys being boys, we'd wait and, you can run fast, it can't get away from you. So, we'd always try to just jump on it and ride it. And that's my first and only memory of actually being in kindergarten. Apart from my teacher, I can't remember her name, but I remember there was this teacher who was very, she was just so pleasant. She was so nice. She was so encouraging. So she was almost like I would get excited to go to school because of the tortoise and because of the teacher.
Wow, because of the teacher.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's the name of that kindergarten again?
Pardon?
What's the name of the kindergarten?
The name?
Yeah.
Mascot Academy.
Mascot Academy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're there for how long?
I don't even know how long I was there.
Okay.
But after that, I went to join Kilimani Junior Academy.
KJA?
Yes, KJA. Because my parents, we then moved to Karen at some point. But the next memory I have of being in school was in KJA. Yes.
So, strangely, I was also in KJA. But are you in KJA I remember I went there for pre-unit. Were you in pre-unit or did you go class 1, class 2? What year did you
I actually think I went for pre-primary 2 and pre-primary 3.
Yeah.
And then I joined standard 1, standard 2, standard 3. One of my memories of being in KJA was on Fridays. I think they used to give us chips and hot dogs.
In KJA?
Yes. And it was a very rare thing, but once in a while we'd get chips and hot dogs. And from the place you serve the food to the benches we used to sit on, it was a bit of a walk. And I remember, there were a lot of hawks in that area. And, you'd be walking with your hot dog and, it would come and take the hot dog and leave you the bun. So you left there with bread. But yeah, that was KJA. I remember the headmistress, Mrs. Motion.
Yes.
And she was very harsh. She was a proper disciplinarian, but I was a good boy. I rarely ended up in her, in her office. I have a couple of sisters who, were there, very often. But I think I was one of those who was like, I was good, I was smart, and I would, toe the line. I was very obedient, if you could call it that. So I remember KJA, but I think I left KJA in standard 3. Yes, because at that point, I think some of my sisters had finished primary school, and they were moving now to high school. So from there, we were all taken to Rusinga. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So KJA for you sounds, it's so funny. I went to KJA and it's only when I'm hearing you talk about it that I realize I don't remember the school.
I actually remember the layout.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember my class. I was in class. I remember being in 2R. There were different streams.
Yes.
Yes, I was in 2R. I barely remember the people who I was with in KJA. Just 1 or 2 people. But that's all I really remember. It's like a blur to me as well.
That's so crazy because, and this is a slight segue, and we're allowed to segue on CTA. Think of it like your kids now. Later on, this may be a blur to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
For you, this is everything, but this may be a blur to them in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's still foundational because I can hear even Your home sounds very warm. I'm not trying to add.
It was a very warm home.
And loving.
I
That's
don't
the feel
remember
that I get.
ever in my whole life seeing my folks fighting. I'm sure they had arguments. All couples have arguments.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing them. The only quote unquote fighting I remember was between the siblings. When things would happen, and some are more sensitive and some are more aggressive.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm the last born, I was always the peacemaker from a very young age.
Yeah.
So I was always the one who was trying to keep the peace. I'm very non-confrontational, and I think that's because when you have a lot of women in the same space, there's bound to be a bit of controversy. So I was always that guy of, okay, guys, let's sort this out. Obviously, later in life, but I remember always being happy, all my memories of being in the house in Kile were happy memories. I remember when we used to have late night movie. I don't know, there were some movies that used to come out at 9 p.m. And it was on Wednesday or Thursday. It wasn't on a weekend. And we would actually sneak, because from where the bedrooms are, you'd come into the sitting room, there was a couple of stairs, and then we'd sneak under the couch while my folks were watching the late night movie. I think there was some that actually happened on Saturdays. I can't remember. But we would get so excited to sneak in because we were supposed to be in bed, asleep. So all 5 or 6 of us, okay, there were some we didn't invite because we knew there were snitchers. So we'd come, sneak under the couch, and we'd start watching the late night movie. And sometimes it was a comedy.
So you laugh.
And, something would happen in the TV, and, we'd just all start sneaking under the couch, and that's how they would find out that, we were actually under there. I'm sure they knew.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, it was fun times.
That's the home at this stage of where you're giving the story. It sounds very warm, loving, holistic.
Correct.
What's the relationship at this moment like between you and your mom?
I'm a mama's boy. I've always been a mama's boy. I loved my dad. I respected him. I looked up to him. He was like I don't know how to put it, but that person you just look up to. He's like in awe. It's almost like almost a spiritual being that you can't even touch, But my mom was there. She was always there with us. She always made sure we had eaten. She always protected us. She always protected me. So me and my mom were always very close. Always very close. I was her last born. I was the only boy. I was very spoiled. Going back, actually, I remember after my first and second siblings were born, or is it after the third one? They actually had a boy.
Oh, wow.
But it was a stillborn.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I think my dad was like, no, we're going to get another boy. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. And after 5, I don't know how my mom was even taking it. I mean, 5 kids and you're still trying to get a boy. Yeah. And finally they got a son. So I was I was very protected. I was very loved. And this is not just from my parents, from my mom, but even my sisters. They could bully me, but if anyone tried to talk about me or do something in school, they would get a beating. Yeah.
Wow.
So my mom loved me all the way, till the end. She was almost like my best friend.
Yes. I mean, when you speak to a lastborn, you're coming into the home after life has happened.
Yes.
You get what I mean? It's very, I'm a firstborn. It's very different with the firstborn. And in fact, when I'm hearing this story, I'm hearing the different dynamics of a lastborn, and especially a lastborn only boy. That's now even added more. But yeah, okay. So what year do you go to Rusinga?
That was in standard 3.
Wow, that's a minute ago.
That was in standard 3. I can't remember what year it was.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, that was in standard 3. Rusinga was interesting because you have just moved from 844 to British system. So you don't even have to put much effort in school because, 844, they grilled you and it was very academically. And then you get there and you're getting straight A's, A stars, I don't know what. But what I remember, my biggest memory in Rusinga, I had this teacher in standard 6. She was called Miss Tuva. I don't know if you remember her. and she was my homeroom teacher. And I was born left-handed, by the way. And up until then, I had been left-handed. But back in those days, being left-handed was a taboo. It was not looked as something positive. So in standard 6, I remember my mother storming into class and having a conversation with my teacher and telling her, look, this boy better be writing with his right hand by the end of this semester, and by the end of this term. Otherwise, you'll have a problem. So in standard 6, I remember I had to start learning to write with my right hand. And by the end of that term, I was right-handed. I'm still ambidextrous still now. Oh, yes. Even when I used to play soccer, I would, I would be on the left wing. I still do a lot of things with my left hand right now. I can write, not very well, but I still have that functionality on my left hand. But now, at that point, I had to change to become right-handed.
That's insane. So now that you've done both, is there really a difference between left and right? What's the thing?
I don't know if there's really a difference. I remember one of my daughters when she was born, she used to do a lot of stuff with her left hand. But when she started writing, and I was very excited, another lefty. But when she started writing with her right hand. I was a bit disappointed, but it's not anything big. They say, left-handed people are
brilliant,
very intelligent.
Yeah.
The likes of Barack Obama and,
Uhuru.
I can name a lot of people who are left-handed and are just brilliant. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. They say you think slightly differently and this and that, but I wouldn't really put it as a thing for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is Rusinga? What's the school like?
Rusinga was interesting.
Was Miss Karaoke the headmistress at that time?
Pardon?
Miss Karaoke. Can you remember the headmistress?
I can't even remember the headmistress name. Yes. But Rusinga was okay. It was good. Started growing up, starting to get to know people. You're getting older. You're forming relationships. You're getting friends. So for me, I think academically, I was always quite good in Rusinga. And on top of that, I'm a people person. I was always, that life of the party kind of person. So I was always, trying to hang out with people, get to know them. Even my teachers all loved me. Like, I was just that kind of person who, very few people didn't like me. Then on top of that, because, at that point, my folks were doing quite well. And, I'd have birthday parties and invite guys over. And,
where are your folks now? Because are they rising up the ranks at this time?
Are they, pardon?
Are they rising up the ranks?
I can't hear you.
Are they climbing up the ranks?
Yes. They're climbing up the ranks. So that at that point, they were doing quite well. I remember even my dad, as I said, he used to spoil us. So sometimes, it'd be lunchtime. And, he sent the driver to bring for us tears or food from Tintin. This is in school, And you're like, okay. And I remember, even going further, he used to love entertaining. So he'd have these lavish parties, whether it's a birthday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He'd have these lavish parties, get a caterer. I don't know if you remember the restaurant Horseman.
Yes.
And they would cater in our house. And he'd bring tents and whatever. And you're like, okay. So things were quite good.
Things were brilliant. That's not quite good. But actually, how do I non-politically correct? I like the honesty and vulnerability while doing this CTA. By any means standard at this time, you guys are what Kenyans would call the utmost Barbies.
Yes, kabisa. Completely.
To the max. But do Barbies know their Barbies, or it's all you've known?
Maybe when you're younger, you don't quite know. But it reached a point where I started wearing that tag with pride. It's always used as a negative thing. You Barbies, blah, blah, But it reached a point where I was like, yes, I'm a Barbie and I'm proud of it.
And I like it.
Yes.
That's so cool. When did that thing happen? Because Barbies, a lot of Barbies keep it quiet. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I started noticing things were a bit different for us when I was quite young.
Okay.
My dad, as I said, used to spoil us, and me more so than even the rest. So I remember I was 7 years old. We were still living in Kileleshwa. And one day this guy comes home with a motorbike.
You don't see though.
A tiny little motorbike. At 7 years old. So I started riding bikes when I was 7. And that's when you start realizing, okay, no one else has a motorbike. Okay. But you don't quite put two and two together. It was a small 50cc. It was called a big wheel. It had fat wheels. And that's when I started learning how to ride my motorcycles. By the time we moved to Karen, that was in 1991. When my dad had, he had built the dream house, 6 bedrooms,
91.
2 sitting rooms. It was on a whole acre in Karen.
Yeah.
Yes, we moved to Karen in 1991. That's when the house was, we finished building the house in 1991 and moved in. And then you realize when we moved to Karen, the next neighbor was like 5 kilometers away. Every few days you hear there was a lion here, there was a lion there. Someone's dog had been killed by a leopard and they just leave the head. So it was quite interesting. But so we moved to Karen and I started to realize, okay, we are doing well. And then all of a sudden you're being bought for steers for lunch and Tintin. And you're like, okay. And you start comparing, where do you guys live? Oh, blah, blah, here, there, whatever. And you're like, okay, we must be doing well. That's when you start realizing, okay, we are a cut above the rest.
Yeah, but you're also one of the reasons why, first of all, let me say, there's only 2 guys I knew who had a motorbike. You and Anunda.
Yes.
And you see the way guys have motorbikes like crazy. And it's not small motorbikes.
Yes.
By the time it's 96, you guys have Kawasaki's.
Yes. I remember I wasn't even, I think I was 16 when I got my Kawasaki. My dad, I told my dad, hey, now, because I had gone from the 50cc to an 80cc. And I was like, it's not enough. It's not enough. I want something else. And my dad actually said, okay, what do you want? I said, okay, let me test this guy. I went online. I did my research. I don't even think was there online those days? I don't
online.
But I ended up importing a Kawasaki Ninja ZXR 400 from the UK. I think I was 16.
How you're alive?
I had a Kawasaki Ninja, brand new from the showroom.
What?
Airshipped.
What?
To Nairobi.
Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know if it's you now. Actually, Sido, you've never been too far from the straight and narrow. How? Or maybe let's go back to the simple. Let me just I'm loving this, the honesty, first of all, which is a side that we rarely hear about, especially from this Barbie element. So, but how is it not, or is it, what am I trying to ask? I'm trying to ask is, are you getting big-headed? That's the question, yes.
I think how we were raised to be proud of who we are. We were raised to understand that we had wealth. Because my dad, how he grew up with nothing.
Wow.
I remember him telling us stories about how they would eat meat maybe once a year during Christmas when someone would give them a chicken. I remember him saying, that his parents split up. And it was just, mainly the siblings and, with the mom. And he was also the last born. So he was the one who was, on his mother's hip a lot of the time. And I remember him telling us stories about how he would walk to school barefoot and come back home and take the cow out to pasture, the 2 or 3 cows they had, come back home, study with a kerosene lamp, and how they used to make tea when they were when they were lucky enough for someone to bless them with sugar. Remember those metal cups?
Yes.
So his mom would put the cup on the jiko, throw some sugar in until it goes black, and then pour water. And that's what he knew tea was. So he came from absolutely nothing. So
and he's up country.
Yes.
Where exactly?
Pardon?
Where exactly is he?
In Vihiga.
In Vihiga.
Yes. A place called Viaro. And that's how they used to make tea. So he came from absolutely nothing. He made it. One of his favorite books, he kept telling us, he kept drilling into us, is Poor No More. That was his favorite book because he's like, I'm never going to go back there, and my kids will never, ever, ever go through what I went through. But at the same time, he was very generous. He was the kind of person who always wanted to help the next guy. So he paid for a lot of people's school fees. He started a lot of businesses for people. Till today, sometimes I mention my name and, oh, Chahonyo, which Chahonyo? Oh, he gave me my first job. Or, he put my kids through school. So we were always raised to know that you have to give back. It's a privilege to have this money. Did we get big heads? I'm sure at some point, when you're teenagers and you have a lot of money, but we never tried to put it in other people's faces. It was always just that thing of we'd go out with our friends and, we'd buy the drinks or we'd pay for the food or do whatever it is, but we never did it from a point of I'm better than you. I don't know if it's how we were raised. So we always had that humility, but we were also proud of who we are. We knew who we are. We knew who we were. We knew who our dad was. We were proud of all that. And we just liked everyone around us to be happy. So whether that's buying drinks or picking people up or paying for the meals. But we also grew up with a lot of people whose parents were also up and coming.
Yeah.
So everyone was kind of on the same level. Okay, there were some people who are not quite on the same level. There were some people who are, way better than us. But it was never a thing of I'm better than you or you're better than me.
I get it.
It's like, if someone's down, I'll sort him out. This guy doesn't want to come today because he doesn't have money. It's okay, I'll sort him out. But not from a point of you owe me or I'm better than you. Just for a point of we just wanted everyone around us to be happy.
I really like this conversation because even the last person who I had on this seat was a Barbie. And granted, majority of the people in Kenya are not Barbies. In fact, it's the minor percentage, when I'm talking 2-3%, who get the opportunity to have that. But as I hear you talk, what I'm hearing is the importance of parenting, and that plays a role in the foundation, so that even as this money is coming, there are elements of the parenting that are still grounding you, whether the money is there or not. Of course, it's more difficult when the money goes, but this time, life is sounding absolutely amazing.
Yes. And obviously, there are those people out there who used to throw names, do you know who I am, get into trouble and say, I'll call my dad, I'll get you fired. Yeah. That wasn't us. We were just very, I don't know if you can call it humble, or maybe it's just the way we were raised. I can't even put my finger on what it is that didn't make the money get to our heads. We knew we had money, and we knew we were blessed, but we never made it never made us feel like we are better than the next person. Because my dad would talk to, he could talk to anybody. From the mama mboga to the security guard or the wachi, all the way up to presidents. And, he could entertain anyone. And he never felt like he's better than that because he knew where he came from. So he instilled that into us, that you're not really better than anyone. He didn't quite say it outright, but from how he lived, we kind of tried to emulate, okay, if he was very arrogant and proud and, we probably would have ended up like that. But he was a very humble person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I love what you're saying. It's not even what they told you verbally, it's what you saw them do. Okay. Yeah, because I do know the ones of, do you know who my dad is? I'll call. Okay, you are in Rusinga this time. Are you loving Rusinga? I've not heard you mention any friends. I love Rusinga. I've not heard you mention any friends from that era.
About?
Friends. I've not heard you mention any friends. Friends? Yes.
From Rusinga?
Yeah.
As I said, I was a social butterfly. So I had very many friends. In my class, in other classes, like any class where my sisters were, I would get to know the people in that class, their friends.
Is Lupita in Rusinga that time?
Lupita was in Rusinga. She was 2 years ahead of me in my sister Gloria's class. So, and there was a group of friends who were very tight. There was Lupita, there was Belinda, there was Sandra.
Lupita and Belinda were in the same, for that
yes,
time?
And then there was Glo, my sister. And they were quite close. And I know even with Sandra, our mothers knew each other from church and whatever, but it became now they'd start having sleepovers, so they would either be at my house, One weekend they'd all be at my house. The next weekend they're at Lupita's house. The next weekend they're at Sandra's house or Belinda's house. So I remember Lupita from school. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember quite well. Yeah.
Lupita sikuje city yetu. So what? And the guys, who are you hanging out with?
I think my best friend in Rusinga was Daniel Irungu. He was in my class. That was the one, I think, me and him were very, very close. And we did a lot of things together. Okay. We had our first cigarettes together and coughed our lungs out. We pierced our ears together. I remember going to pierce my ear and I got one earring on the left side. And I went home and I was shouted at for lack of a better, description. And I was so rebellious at that point. You're a teenager, don't ever do that again. I said, okay. Next weekend, I went and got another piercing. I added one on the left and one on the right. After that, they were like, okay.
Let's leave this guy.
Yeah. So, I hang out with quite a lot of people.
Okay. And are cousins coming still? Is it still the same thing of cousins in your house?
They're still there, but less and less, because a lot of them now, my uncles and aunties have, started to make it on their own, or they came to Nairobi to live with us for a couple of months or a year or two, while they were in uni or the what. But once they started working, they've got their own place.
Wow.
But I remember our home was still a meeting spot. So on the holidays, on the weekends, when we were not going up country, there would still be a lot of people in the house.
Okay.
So Rusinga, okay, I was brought up by women. So I tend to relate easier with women. Even right now, I have a lot of friends who are female. And because I was brought up by women and guys don't talk, you tend to, what's the word? You tend to release a lot or talk about a lot of the things you're going through with women, whether it's my sisters or my friends. Yes, kufungua roho. So even in school, a lot of the people I was close to were women, girls at that time. So in Rusinga, I remember Jean Kula. We were very close. Modoni Njoba.
Wow.
And my current wife, Sheba. She joined in like year 7.
But you met each other in Rusinga?
No.
But you were tight there?
We were also in KJA together. And my third-born sister, Bev,
yes,
and her first-born sister, Lola, they were friends in KJA from Standard 6. They were best friends in Standard 6 going up. So we always knew the family. She was always in the periphery, but there was never really, It's only later on when I started realizing, okay.
But you started talking, you're saying you were friends when you were...
We were friends. Okay, actually, when she came to Rusinga, I was like, hey, she a divad. She was beautiful. I was like, okay. But I think, I started talking to her, blah, blah, blah. But it was never really any, at that age, you're just...
Yeah.
And then there was a friend of hers whose name I won't mention, who was a very good friend with Sheba and a very good friend to me.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I was telling this friend about how I really liked Sheba and how can I approach her and this and that. But this friend had a crush on me. And she was telling me, oh no, forget about Sheba. She's not interested in boys. She's just, a bookworm and blah, blah, blah. Just forget about it. But it turns out Sheba also at some point had a crush on me. But, this same friend is like, Sydney, he's a bad boy, he's a what? So it was very interesting.
So did you end up going out with this one? Huh? Did she?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did? Huh?
We were very good friends, but no, we didn't, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I get this Rusinga time. But there's something that I want to touch on here. Is that where do you get into the clubbing lifestyle at this point?
The earliest memory of me actually drinking, I think I was around 14.
Wow.
My parents, as much as they used to take care of us and they loved us and they gave us everything, my dad he had very close ties to home, Vihiga. And it reached a point, he had bought a couple of farms. So every weekend, they would go on Friday and come back on Saturday or Sunday.
Hey.
So our house kind of became
Party
the party
central.
house, party central. So my sisters are older than me. So if I'm 14, there's a 16-year-old in the house, an 18-year-old in the house.
Ooh.
I think the rest, most of them had actually flown out of the country.
For university?
For uni. Huh?
For uni?
Yes. So because now this one is 18 and this one is 16, they are going out and doing this. And I'm like, either you take me with you or I sell you out. So my first memory of drinking was a Kingfisher. Do you remember Kingfisher?
No, but that's
There was a drink
old school.
called Kingfisher. It was a cider, I think.
Yeah.
In a small round green bottle.
Yeah.
With a picture of a kingfisher on it. And that's the first thing I ever remember drinking. That was at the age of 14. But that was just trying it out. But now, the more my folks would go up country because the farm is there and they're trying to do commercial farming and this and that, the more my sisters start going out, now I start going out with them. So a lot of the time, I used to hang out with people who are older than me.
Yep.
Because I was the only kid at the club.
Yeah.
And, you know, they would pay the bouncers, get me in. Everyone would know me. Oh, you're Sharon's brother, or your Gloria's brother, or your Bev's brother, or your whose brother. So everyone would always take care of me. So, yeah, I remember by the time I was 16, you know, we were now drinking proper. Myers Ram, the likes of the vodkas, the what, you know. And it was just normal for me. That's all I've ever known. And it was strange because I remember at some point being in Hillrest, and you'd go out over the weekend, and I'd go back to school, and everyone in my class is talking about what they watched on TV, how they went to Village Market for the weekend, and I'm like, dude, us guys just came back from Naivasha. Us guys were fishermen for the weekend.
Dude, can you remember?
What are you guys talking about? Talking about Tom and Jerry?
You know, I'm hearing you. Truly, the tagline on this show is, you truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people. When you said you were born in 84, I was like, what? I always thought we were born in the same year. Because we're hanging out. Yeah. Even when you talk about fishermen. Yeah. But there's a 3-year gap between us. Yes. But I've always thought we were the same age until now. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, I've understood you're hanging out with, your siblings' friends.
Yes, my siblings' friends, exactly. Because all my friends are at home watching cartoons and doing other things.
And go to Village Market. Okay.
And playing games.
So I heard you mention Hillcrest, but I want to touch on this Rusinga. How are you doing in school? Are you throughout doing well?
Rusinga, I did quite well. I did quite well in Rusinga. I was always a smart one, a sharp one. I never ever had problems with my teachers. A lot of the time I was the teacher's pet. So academically it was fine. Sports-wise I was fine. School was fun. For me, school was actually fun. Yes.
And did you have a goal of what it is that you wanted to be in life? Like, have you decided?
At that point, no. I was just living life. I was just enjoying my life. I hadn't even started thinking of, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that. But actually, it was in Rusinga the first time I actually started having those conversations. You know, back in those days, you were told what to study. It's medicine, it's law,
banking,
it's finance, nothing else. You're not doing anything else. My firstborn sister went to study medicine in Minnesota. She did 3 years, it just wasn't for her. But she started doing flying school on the side. Yeah, as a hobby. So she ended up being a pilot, a very successful pilot.
Just wait there. I love Barbie. I promise you, I really love this group. This group. Do you know the expense it is to do piloting? Piloting is not something you can do as a hobby because of the hours in which you need to pay for.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I've had 2 pilots.
What she was doing was, as I said, my dad was very generous and he wanted the best for us. So initially, she started saving up her money, working a job, blah, 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 while she's in school. And on the weekends or whenever she had free time, she would enroll and do some hours. Eventually, when my dad saw, okay, she's getting serious, now they started sponsoring her fully. when she decided, hey, this medicine thing, I can't. So they started now sponsoring her. My second born was told to go and do law.
Just before we're coming back to that, I just want to dwell here a bit. This is the segues, the interjections that some people don't like, but for me, there's value in this conversation. What do you think, and maybe I know the answer, but maybe I just still want you to say it. Where are you at in life that flying can be an option to be a hobby?
She was just interested in it.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to say.
Yes.
How do I, and it's not even about how can somebody still have those ambitions whether or not they have money? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yes. We were always taught to dream big and to be successful. Remember, poor no more. You guys are going to be successful. And you're never going to go through what I went through. And your kids are never going to go through what I went through. So there was always this thing of you have to be successful. And I'll do everything in my power to make sure that you guys are successful. That's what we got from my dad. Coming back to your other question that you asked, the first career, I was very good at art. I loved art, I loved drawing, I loved that kind of stuff. I was a creative. One day my dad asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I told him I want to be an architect. He said, okay, interesting. And next weekend, there's this guy who used to come see my dad. Some guy from the village who used to drive, a car that was always backfiring, very old car. I think it was a Datsun 124 or something. And he'd come see my dad every once in a while. So one day, the next weekend after I told my dad I want to be an architect, this guy comes. And my dad tells me, come and sit with us. And I'm like, okay, what's this about? So we sit down, he's there, a couple of hours just talking. And this guy was not very successful. He was not, we used to call him Jasper. Do you remember Tom and Jerry?
Yeah.
There was another cat called Jasper
Yes.
that just looked like life had done a thing on him. So we used to call that guy Jasper because he had that look like life has been very, very bad to him.
Yes.
He has a cold. So after the conversation, when this guy goes, I get up to go do whatever I was doing. I said, no, sit down. And my dad told me, you know what that guy does for a living? He's an architect. That's what you want to be in life? And that was the end of that conversation.
Your dad brought the wrong guy.
That was the end of that conversation. So my next thing was when I was in Hillrest in high school.
No, wait, before we... Oh, okay, your next
I'm
thing.
talking about the career.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to do engineering, aeronautical engineering, because I loved airplanes. I wanted to build planes. And that was actually what I wanted to do with my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm loving this story. Exposure. That's what I've sort of... Were you guys traveling?
I remember, yes. Very strange. In Rusinga. I can't even remember what class we were in. The US was trying to promote baseball in Africa. And they set up a tournament in Zimbabwe. I can't remember what year it was. And for some reason, the guy who used to teach me art, not even the PE teacher, who used to teach me art, had some connection somewhere. And Rusinga ended up having the first Kenyan baseball team to go to that international tournament.
Yeah.
And I was the captain. So the first time I remember leaving the country, I went to Zimbabwe for a tournament. Next time I remember was my sister was graduating in the UK, in Norwich.
Yes.
She did law. She was told you're doing law. Mm-hmm. She wanted to do interior design. She ended up saying, no, you're doing law. So when she graduated, I went to the UK. And we, obviously that time life is good. Shopping on Oxford Street. My dad knew that my dad is a lawyer. He loves his chicken. He knew from memory every KFC in relation to the hotel he was staying at. So he would say, okay, let's go walk. So you're staying in a hotel, good food, you know, a 5-star hotel. But he's like, no, let's go walk. And you go and come back with 2 buckets of
Chicken.
of KFC. But anyway, so the second time I remember traveling was then. And I remember he had a friend in the UK. And this guy was very well-to-do. We were picked up from the airport in a Bentley. That's the first time I ever saw a Bentley. And the driver was a Mzungu. I was like, huh? I remember going to see my sister. And I remember one thing that sticks in my mind during that trip. Or was it a different trip? There was a time my dad walked into a store. And maybe because he was black or because he was African, the attendant didn't really think he could afford what was in the store. And my dad was a very interesting guy. What are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for this and this and this for my daughter or for my wife, or whatever it is. Maybe you can try the next store down the road or whatever it is. It's like, why? No, what we have here is, quite high end and blah, 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 blah. What my dad did? He got a shopping trolley. Bam, 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 bam. Get another one. Bam, bam, bam. And he goes to the till, and the chick is like, hey, I don't know if this guy can. And he pulled out his card. I think those days they were called Diners Club. Yeah. It was a Diners Club card. And he pulled it out and he didn't say anything to her. He didn't complain, he didn't anything. But he wanted to show her that
stop darawing us.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Aside from that, I didn't really travel much. Okay, we used to go out to Mombasa a lot, to the coast. Every summer holiday, I remember during my sister Shan's birthday, we'd always spend it in Mombasa. Whether we were at Serena or Intercontinental or Mombasa Beach, I'd always go there. But going internationally, I never really traveled much at that time.
That's so powerful because this exposure thing that I thought is making your sister want to be a pilot, I thought it was because of traveling. But it sounds like it was also just, she was being exposed to dreaming big.
Yes, exactly.
But not per se through experiencing. It's not, it's the open eyes and money. It's maybe books, TV, whatever it is. It's just a mentality through what is being instilled by your father and mother.
Yeah.
Okay, transition me out of Rusinga.
Okay. From Rusinga, I went to Hillrest.
Why Hillrest?
Why Hillrest? It was closer to home. And it was one of the best schools at that time.
Okay.
I remember joining Hillrest, and in my year, there were only 3 black kids, me being one of them. By the time I left, there were only 3 white kids in my year. So Hillrest was a very prestigious school. It was a good school. It was known for academic excellence, sports, and also they had a lot of connections with universities abroad. Yes, so I think that was the main reason.
And can you remember the year that you've joined Hillrest? And you joined Hillrest to do your A-levels?
No, I joined Hillrest in year 7 or 8.
Oh, so you just decided you were done with Rusinga? You didn't finish your O-levels?
Well, with Rusinga, I think all my transitions happened because of the older kids. Because when I was moving to Rusinga, it's because someone has finished
O-levels.
Primary.
Yeah.
And needs to go to secondary. We need a school where they can continue secondary.
Yeah.
KJA didn't have secondary. So let's all move all of them. So for Rusinga, I think one of my sisters, Sharon, had already gone to Manchester for further studies. My other sister, Gloria, she actually went to do her O-levels in the UK as well.
Oh.
And at that point, he was like, let's move him somewhere closer to home because of the school run, blah, blah, blah. But also at that point, Hillrest was a much better, in perception, Hillrest was a much better school. Yes.
Okay.
Open up more opportunities for you.
I get it.
Yes.
Which is actually true. Let's take a quick break. We're coming back to continue from Hillrest.